All right, cool. We're live. We'll do it live.
Let's do it.
I'm going to pop out of here.
Zach, just so you know, I talked to Reese today, Nola, JT, and Wheels. So if you want to ask me anything about any of them.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Yeah. We're going to dive in. Like, I got no run sheet today. It's just we're going to talk Phillies. Pretty much everything. Let's go across all boards with them.
If I sent you guys the post or the presser sound, would you be able to use any of it?
I mean, you got to ask Slash.
If you send it, would you want to incorporate it in here somehow?
No, I guess when you put it together, maybe if you want to bump back from breaks with a bite, hey, we're excited here and blah blah blah,
Yeah,
I'm just a thought, jazz.
No, so like instead, like I think what Murph is trying to say is when we come back from break, normally we play like a clip of Jimmy Rollins against Jonathan Broxton along with the music when we come back in, and we could play a sound clip of maybe like a 15-second bite of Reese talking about how excited he is to finally make the playoffs, or Nola.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think. Doing that pre-recorded. Yeah, if you send it over, I could probably
if you use it, great. If you don't,
send it over. I'll figure it out.
All right, it's not a big deal either way.
Yeah, I think when I cut the segments up, I can add it in there and then go from there. So yeah, that'll be cool.
All right, well then, Zach, when you bump us back from the two breaks, why don't you say something along the lines of like, and that was Zach Wheeler before his start tomorrow Friday in St. Louis, and then pause for a second, and then just be welcome back to just in case, and that way he can cut. If we use it, great. If not, then
who out of the four? Who's better sound?
I would start with Reese and Nola,
because I was going to say we're going to be on air after game one. We're going to be on Friday night.
Then use Nola, and there's a really good bite by JT. Just about how much Rob Thompson has meant to this team. So maybe you could use those two bites.
I would love it because we're definitely going to talk about Rob. No doubt about it.
All right. Well, then, again, I'll send it when you welcome us back. Just do it that way. Just give a beat so that Kyle can edit if he needs to.
So, like, when I do, like, the music, coming back when we're live, I'll just have that over top of it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Again, not the end of the world, but
just making notes of it now.
Love it. We'll take whatever. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Might as well if we're here. So
get out of here, Adam. You're not talking Yankees.
We are going to talk Major League Baseball playoffs. We are going to talk outside of this series. So we're going to dive a little bit into it. So we'll have some fun on that end.
Whenever you guys are good to go, I'm going to pop out.
Yep. And once you pop out, give me like 10, 15 seconds, and we'll start rolling like we always do.
Yep. Go for it.
All right, man. Let's have some fun.
All righty. Now I'm going to bed. I'm not going to that dinner.
No?
I have a good excuse.
You do. I'm sure the guys aren't giving you a hard time about it.
No, they're not.
All right, let's go. Good evening, Philadelphia, and welcome into Bud Light Baseball Brunch, powered by Green Legion Radio on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler, 104.1 in the Trenton area, WDAS, AM around the rest of the Delaware Valley, or simply download that iHeartRadio app, and you can listen to us anywhere, crystal clear, worldwide. This is Green Legion Radio, Bud Light Baseball Brunch, and we are excited because this is the first time that we have done this show, and yes, it's only been around for 2 years, but I'll tell you what, I'm ecstatic. I'm excited. The fact that we're going to be talking about Phillies postseason baseball here is a dream come true for a lot of us diehard Phillies fans that have had to go through the last 11 years to get to this point. And what a fantastic day it is. I know that, listen, we're recording on Thursday, so we don't have the results of game one at the 2:07 start with Zach Wheeler on the mound against Jose Quintana. and we're going to be on from 8 to 9 on Friday evening. But I can speak on my side of things here as a Philadelphia sports fan, how excited and ecstatic I am to finally have Phillies postseason baseball back in my life. I'm Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio, and I'm proud to welcome back to the program my co-host of the last 2 years. It's been a long last month since I've been able to talk to him voice to voice and face to face here on Bud Light Baseball Brunch. But Phillies broadcaster Greg Murphy. Murph, welcome back to the show. So happy to have you.
Well, thank you. I've been saying this a lot over the last couple of days. It is really good to be back. A lot of folks know I was fighting some health issues and trying to get back to the field, trying to get back to that celebration the other night. I made it by a day. My doctors cleared me on Sunday, and I was down there or able to head out to Houston and be a part of that on Monday. So it was everything that I expected and was hoping for. And now they've got a chance to do it again. You know, here we are, Bud Light Baseball Brunch, and I'm in Bud Country here at Busch Stadium. But right now, you know what? It feels awful Philly right here because there's an awful lot of Phillies fans that have made their way already to St. Louis. Should be a lot of fun.
You know, I think we've joked around about this the last couple of years, Murph, and I always harken back to that story that you tell about Charlie Manuel, your first year, doing the field reporting for the Phillies and the TV broadcast, and you're getting on the bus, and Charlie looks at you and says, "Hey, Murph, where's that Irish look at?" And I always laugh about that because if anybody knows what it's been like the last decade plus without Phillies postseason baseball, it's you. And I know, we've joked around between the two of us, hey, it's, blame Murph, he went to the Phillies broadcast team on television. And, it's kind of like lightheartedness, but man, you've been there, since the beginning of the end really of that golden era of Phillies baseball. And I couldn't be happier for you to be back, to live that moment, to be a part of it on Monday night with that team. Listen, I know a lot of people were upset with how the Phillies have played, over the course of the last month, a couple 5-game losing streaks, really letting that 4.5 go down to nothing over the Brewers and taking into that weekend against the Washington Nationals. But to see what happened and transpired on Monday night, and we'll get into the game and we'll get into Aaron Nola, truly special. Wonderful. Rob Thompson, what a fantastic job he's done this season. We'll get more into him and Zach Eflin. But I couldn't be happier for you, partner, for the fact that you were able to get back for that moment, because nobody on that broadcast team, and I know they were there for all the other things prior to 2012. Nobody deserves it more than you.
Well, thanks. It's like you said, I used to hide the fact that I joined in 2012 when people would ask. I'd be like, well, it was a while ago, but yeah, now I can proudly say the jinx is over. Perhaps I brought them a little luck when I arrived in DC and they were able to get that final win, get that magic number down to 1. For me, it's funny. In retrospect, had they not gone into a little bit of a swoon in September, I would not have made it back in time for the celebration. So the way it worked out was kind of perfect. I was sitting with Reese Hoskins in the dugout just a couple minutes ago, and we were just talking about the emotion of that night. And I'm sure most people saw how emotional he was on both.
That was
radio,
awesome. That was awesome.
Radio and TV. And he and I were just talking about, he was drafted by the organization in 2014. I was joking, hey, I've been around since 2012. And he said, we've seen a lot. And he and I have had some great interactions over the years. And I consider him one of my go-to guys and just a real class act, and to see what it means to him and for him to know what it means to me. He said, Murph, we knew you were going to get back. We knew it. We expected you to in that clubhouse. And, that means a lot to me, obviously, as well. So it all worked out, but now there's business ahead. That's what we've got to focus on. St. Louis Cardinals, a good team, obviously. But I think the Phils match up pretty well.
As do I. I believe that wholeheartedly. But this segment is brought to you by our good friends over at the local State Farm. Just as your local State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home and auto, and guess what you'll get? That's right. Good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, State Farm agent Dave Bavuso is your go-to agent for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining home and auto today. State Farm agent Dave Bavuso will help you mix and match things perfectly. Call 856-740-5012 for your surprisingly great rates. That's 856-740-5012. You can also reach out to him. He's in Williamstown, New Jersey, right across the bridge if you're in Philadelphia. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements. Let's go out of the box. Let's get into it. Let's talk Phillies postseason baseball. Listen, again, we're recording on Thursday. We don't know the outcome of game one just yet, of course, obviously. None of us are Nostradamus here. But if we're going to talk about the postseason, let's talk about the postseason roster. I haven't seen anything come out yet, Murph, about who's going to be on the roster. Some of the things that I have seen, and obviously some of the other people that follow the Phillies, and what we get. We know Zach Wheeler's going to pitch game one. Aaron Nola's going to pitch game two. Ranger Suarez, if necessary, will pitch game three. Matt Vierling was announced as a center fielder going up against Jose Quintana because we got a lefty on the mound for the Cardinals. It looks like Miles Mikolas is going to start against Aaron Nola on Saturday, and they're still undecided about Sunday. A little surprised by that with the history that they've had with Adam Wainwright over the years, but he hasn't pitched well down the stretch. They have other options that they can use. What else can we expect when the Phillies announce their postseason roster here, Murph? Who's in? Who's out? Murph, you're muted.
I'm sorry about that. I said it's really the $1 million question because Rob Thompson said that they're not going to decide. They don't have to decide until 10 o'clock a.m. on Friday. So that is when we're going to get the official roster. However, you can speculate and take a look at the tea leaves and kind of try and figure out. Here's what we know. They're going to keep 13 pitchers. And I would say Brad Hand will be that 13th guy. He pitched in Houston yesterday, pitched well, reevaluated today. All accounts sounds like he came out of it really well. So I think they value his experience out there. So I do think he is going to be the last guy in the bullpen. Edmundo Sosa is here. He has been working out in Philadelphia, trying to come back from his hamstring injury. We didn't know if we would see Edmundo. So obviously the fact that he's here means he's progressing well. Now, whether or not he is on the roster remains to be seen. I'm not nearly as convinced that he'll be part of the wild card, but certainly if they move on after that, it looks like he'll be able to be part of the postseason roster after that.
Okay, so if they are on the roster, say Sosa, surprisingly tomorrow, 10 o'clock on Friday, that they come out and Sosa is on the roster, who do you see them leaving off the roster? And the same thing with Brad Hand. Like, I think a lot of us are wondering, like, are all five of the starting pitchers going to be on the wild card roster? Is Kyle Gibson going to be on the wild card roster? I'm assuming they're going to have Syndergaard and Bailey Falter. If you're looking at those guys being in, who are we looking at being out?
Yeah, again, it's a great question. And I think you touched on a couple of the names. So I think down at the bottom of the list, and it might be one guy, it might be two, Noah Syndergaard, Kyle Gibson, Nick Nelson, Connor Brogdon. I guess that's who I would say is fighting for those final spots. Whether, I can't tell you who's going to be a part of it at this point. I do think Syndergaard is probably safe and going to get on there. If I had to bet, maybe it's Kyle Gibson just because there's not really a role for him. But he is a clubhouse leader. So, these are interesting decisions. And I'm not exactly sure which way they're leaning at this point.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, clubhouse leaders, like if Kyle Gibson's left off the roster for the wild card round, he could still be on the bench, with his teammates. I'm sure. Same thing with Edmundo Sosa. If he's not playing the wild card, he can still be on the bench. But if we're going to talk roster here, let's talk about what our advantages are going into the series against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals are a perennial powerhouse every year. They're in the postseason, or at least it feels that way. But this team has struggled a little bit down the stretch. Yes, Albert Pujols has done some really cool things over the last couple months, and good for him. But they've been scuffling, down to the wire here. They clinched pretty early, but if you're looking at this team through a general lens and general context right now, they're kind of what the Phillies are, kind of limping through September to get into the playoffs. Yes, they have home field advantage, but if you're looking at the starting pitching standpoint, the Phillies have the advantage in that area. Zach Wheeler, his last few starts since coming back from the injured list, he's looked really well. He's looked strong. He's been building himself up. I think what they were looking for is, I think, somewhere between 95 to 105 pitches is what they're hoping to get out of him on Friday in his first start ever in the postseason, which is surprising. I mean, he was on those Mets teams and that made the postseason previously. And I don't think anybody going into this postseason, outside of maybe Justin Verlander, but if we're talking wild card round only, is coming in as strong as how Aaron Nola had looked. And I find that surprising, Murph. I know, in the last couple of years, I've talked about Aaron Nola and his struggles in September. And I'll tell you what, man, he stepped up this season. He was fantastic in September. I had no idea that was the first time technically he's ever pitched in October, which was surprising for me. But man, what a phenomenal performance. He took that mound on Monday night in Houston, and I was pulling, man. I wanted that. I wanted that perfect game or no hitter so bad for him. Fortunately, it was taken away by Yordan Alvarez, who's, no scrub out there himself. But starting pitching, the Phillies are lining up really well and favorable heading into this series against the Cardinals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, I've been talking to a lot of the guys today. I'm here, obviously, at Busch Stadium. It's workout day today here on Thursday, so an opportunity to talk to a lot of the guys. And Aaron and I were also just kind of chatting earlier, and I asked him, I said, just how satisfying was it to pitch that way in your, biggest game of your career? And he said, you know what? It was satisfying to help the team win, because that's his mentality. And, you and I have had this conversation, argument, however you want to phrase it. Our fearless leader,
let's just say conversation.
Quimby has weighed in on this on several times. And my answer to you guys has always been the same. Aaron Nola can't pitch in a big game right up until he does. And that is a mantra that I follow with professional athletes and professional teams. The Phillies can't win in September right up until they do. You know what I mean? And it happens all the time. And the idea that we can decide ahead of time that a guy is not capable of doing something, if the talent level's there, we know the talent level's there. So this idea that he wasn't capable of putting that, whatever mental block he might have had aside and pitch well, for me, it was very validating. And I thought about all you guys as he dominated a very good Houston Astros lineup the other night. So
you didn't text me. You didn't reach out. I was expecting, hey, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Zach. I was kind of waiting for a little bit of a jab.
Believe me, I thought that, but I did not text that. That's just me. But it was great to see, and I can tell you, he is excited to take the ball for Saturday night, and he's pitched well against the Cardinals over his career. So he's ready to go, and he's also obviously, like the rest of us, pretty excited to see what Zach Wheeler is going to be able to do on Friday.
Yeah, ideally, all along, I was hoping to be in St. Louis for Game 1 once they released the schedule, and it was a 2:07 start. Oddly enough, you have two big cities, two big markets like St. Louis and Philadelphia, and there's not a direct flight unless it's your arm, your leg, your right ass cheek to try and get to St. Louis on a direct flight. So it just didn't work out in the cards for that. So we'll be there on Saturday night. My wife and I look forward to seeing you out there. Hopefully we can definitely meet up before the game and take a picture, because, Bud Light Baseball Brunch in the home of Bud, it would be really cool to get that moment. And my seats are fantastic. I'm third baseline. So I'm down the side where the Phillies are, just a little bit down, 163. But it's going to be really cool to be in that environment. Murph, I've waited 11 years for this moment. I was at the Ryan Howard game, Roy Halladay, Chris Carpenter, Game 5, October 7th, 2011. And, oddly enough, here we are on Friday, October 7th, 2022 and the Phillies are going back into the playoffs and they're going up against a team that took them out. There is nothing in this world right now that I want more, Murph, because they ended the golden era of Phillies baseball. They theoretically, they took away the prime and the greatness that was Ryan Howard and Roy Halladay, and they flushed that down the toilet in that magical season we had in 2011. I would love nothing more than to end the era of Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina in their ballpark, perhaps Adam Wainwright too, who hasn't said yet if he's retiring or not. I would love nothing more than to avenge Ryan Howard's Achilles tendon. Do you join me in this mission?
I would love to see that. Obviously, that would be fantastic. I was also there in 2011. It was devastating. It was heartbreaking. It was all that stuff. You didn't know at the time that the era had ended, but we found out soon after that it had. Yeah, there's so many great storylines that parallel these two franchises and postseason history, and that being one of them. And now here's another opportunity for one of the teams to kind of step up and make a little bit of history. Yeah, the last time that Zach Wheeler had a connection to Roy Halladay, he was pitching on the night that Roy Halladay's number was retired at Citizens Bank Park.
That afternoon, we were down there. Yeah,
he was nearly perfect in that game. And the feeling was he channeled his inner Roy Halladay. Hey, what's to say he's not able to do that? I mean, he certainly has the talent to do it. So what's to say he can't kind of do that similar kind of performance tomorrow night? I expect him to be really good. I really do. I think it's going to be a great game. I would imagine it's going to be a 3-2 kind of contest. But I expect Zach Wheeler to be really good. Phillies just need to, get him a couple runs. If they can get him a couple runs, I would really like their chances with Zach on the hill.
Quick question for you before we dive into the roster and the offensive side of things heading into this series. I'm stuck. I got a dilemma here. I have my Bryce Harper road jersey. I have my Roy Halladay road jersey. Do I try and conjure up and exercise the demons here by wearing the Doc? Or do I just stick with the modern day and go with the Bryce? I mean, I don't think I can go wrong either way, but I'm battling myself right now, Murph. I don't know which way I want to go.
Well, I would tell you to wear Bryce, but keep Doc close by if you can. And if things start to trend towards something special, don't be afraid to switch it out. That'd be okay. But that I think we gotta look ahead, right? That's kind of what we need to be doing as fans and for this franchise and all that. And Bryce is the future. And look, we need him. There's not a whole lot of talk about Bryce Harper right now, which I think is a good thing. But we need him to play well. We need him to be the superstar that he is. So maybe you wearing his jersey will help him with a little mojo.
Why don't we talk a little bit more about Bryce Harper and this Phillies offense on the other side as we come back from break. But first, Premier Window Cleaning is the leading window cleaning company in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. They have over 30 years experience and they offer commercial and residential window cleaning, pressure washing, parking garage cleaning, graffiti removal, and post-construction cleaning. Every employee is trained, certified, and goes through an extensive background check. At Premier Window Cleaning, your satisfaction level needs to be 100%, as no job is complete until you're happy. With clients like Lincoln Financial Field, Comcast, Chop Roberts, and University of Pennsylvania, you cannot go wrong. For more information and a full list of services, give them a call at 267-534-5198. That's 267-534-5198. Or head to their website, WeHateDirtyWindows.com. That's WeHateDirtyWindows.com. On the other side, let's talk some Phillies offensive baseball because, man, the bats need to come to play. And like Murph said, if they do and we get runs early for Wheeler, cruise control from there. Right here, Bud Light Baseball Brunch, 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. We'll be right back after these messages. All right.
Good.
You good?
So you're going to be coming back with the Nola soundbite?
Yeah, let's do the Nola soundbite. So I'll say, and that was Aaron Nola on Thursday, courtesy of Murph. giving us this sound.
Yeah,
no, okay.
Aaron Nola talking on media day. That's fine.
About his first postseason start.
Because that was a good bite. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
cool.
All right, and then give the pause just in case.
Okay, just in case he needs to cut it out.
Yeah.
And that was Aaron Nola speaking about his first postseason start of his career. And welcome back here in the Bud Light Baseball Brunch on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler on this Friday evening, which is Baseball Brunch happy hour / everything else that goes along with it. If you're drinking up with us, hopefully we're celebrating good times that the Phillies have won on Friday afternoon. And we're also, speaking of drinking, let's talk about our good friends over at the Ludlum Bar and Grill, because I had the privilege of doing that back in July. What a great time. We had a lot of fun down there, and they're open year-round. It doesn't just have to be during shore season. You can get down there, stay at the hotel. You can drink the La Casa lemonade. It is wonderful, fantastic, delicious. It can also be troublesome. But if you're staying at the Ludlum Hotel, what does it matter? You're not driving. Just do what you need to do. 4000 Landis Avenue in Seattle City. The hotel is open year-round, and all guests enjoy free Wi-Fi, 1 free parking spot per room, and complimentary beach tags, which you probably don't need right now, for all registered adults. Walking distance to everything. Check them out at ludlumhotel.com. That's Ludlum, Ludlam, hotel.com, or call them at 609-263-7829. That's 609-263-7829 for all your reservation, dining, or entertainment questions. The Ludlum Bar and Grill or Hotel, your new oasis in Seattle City. Murph, it's been fantastic here on Thursday. The sun has come out for the first time in a week. You've come back to my life for the first time in a month, and the Phillies have returned to postseason baseball for the first time in 11 years. What a way to live life. I can't get enough of it, and I can't wait to feel it again. My wife's first postseason baseball game. Now, we've been together 10 and a half years, Murph, and almost like you, I've said that she's been a jinx all along as well. I've been joking around about filing divorce papers these last few years, solely for the simple fact that the Phillies have faded down the stretch, and I blamed her for it. But now I think I could keep her around just a little bit longer.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like hopefully she brings you some luck out here in St. Louis. That would be then she can tell you to go pound sand and she can upgrade her on her own. So
listen,
I think she's not looking. So.
Yeah, I know. Listen, if she's shopping around, there's nothing. There's nowhere to go but up if you're with me. So we'll take that for sure. Hey, listen. Speaking about trying to move on up. This is Philadelphia Phillies offense. We're looking to get back into our ways of winning baseball and scoring runs in bunches. Now, listen, runs aren't as, they don't come as easy as they tend to do during the regular season when you're playing teams like the Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins and teams like that. You're going to go up against great teams, great pitching staffs from here on out through the rest of the postseason for however long it lasts. But you need your big primetime, big money players to show up. Now, luckily for us, Kyle Schwarber over the last few weeks has really shown up. He's been phenomenal, outstanding. He's been everything that this team has wanted when they signed him. I love that moment between him and Dave Dombrowski. Dombrowski, by the way, that was probably one of my favorite parts about that ceremony in the clubhouse. Him walking around with the backwards cap, the T-shirt on. I heard he was wearing shorts and slides as well. That was fantastic. But he brought Schwarber here because Schwarber is a proven winner. He has been his whole career. I think he's missed the playoffs one time in his career. And for him to be here and be that clubhouse presence, Murph, what an unbelievable thing. And plus, if you look at his postseason history, he's one of the greats of all time.
Yeah, you got to hope that he can continue that part of it for sure. Dave Dombrowski told the media that Kyle Schwarber was the best clubhouse presence he's ever seen in baseball. And you're talking about a guy that's taken multiple teams to the postseason. You're talking about a guy that Dave Dombrowski was repeating what Rob Thompson said. But again, it doesn't change anything. You're talking about a guy that's been in the postseason with the New York Yankees and with a guy named Derek Jeter on the roster. He said he's never seen anybody quite like Kyle Schwarber and the way he was able to, keep this locker room focused on what it needed to be focused on. It reminds me of Darren Dalton in so many ways. And Kyle does it under the radar, really. When you ask him about it, he's a little sheepish about it. He'll talk about it, but he doesn't he's not hanging his hat on it. It's just something that is in his personality. And you're right. The way he's swinging the bat certainly helps as well.
Absolutely. And, you kind of think that the reason why that they're starting Quintana in that first game against us is because he's trying to nullify Schwarber at the top part of that lineup and to keep Bryce Harper at bay just a little bit longer. Because remember, this is a 3-game series. Bryce hasn't been playing well lately. He's coming off a rough September. Not sure what's going on at it, but I've been saying it all along, Murph, and I know a lot of people like to hearken it to like playing with house money. I know Bryce Harper has been to the playoffs with the Nationals. He's been there. He's done that. Unfortunately for him, he never won a playoff series while he was there. And then the year after he leaves, they go on and they win the World Series. And that was a really good team. But Bryce, I think the weight of the world now for a lot of these veterans in this clubhouse, the Aaron Nolas, the Rhys Hoskins, the Gene Seguras, because Gene hasn't been playing well down the stretch either, offensively and hitting wise. I look at it from that context with Bryce. Like now it's like, okay, cool. We got in, we got over the hump, we got into the playoffs. This is what John Middleton brought me here to do. Now we're in the show. Now it's time to shine. I think the reason why Quintana is starting is they feel like they can nullify the righties with his stuff. He's only averaging 5 innings a game, a start, since he's been with the St. Louis Cardinals. But if you can take down Schwarber and Bryce Harper and you can use a lefty against them, that's probably what they're gunning for, and they're going to try and keep Bryce Harper a little bit further at bay through these next couple games.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's exactly what the thought process is. But, look, Bryce Harper's hit lefties well for most of the year. He's just in a slump overall against lefties and righties, although he did see a ton of lefties coming down the stretch from playing Atlanta all that time. And so that didn't help. But, look, if the Phils are going to go do anything, they need Bryce to be Bryce. And he knows that. And I agree with you. I think some of the pressure is off, but there's always going to be pressure on superstars, and there's always going to be pressure in the postseason. So he's going to feel that a little bit. But then you hope that, a guy like Kyle Schwarber can say to him, hey, I'm feeling it too, but let's just go. Let's just go out and do what we can do. And then you rely on the rest of that lineup to, take care of business. And get some runs. You're not going to need a lot of runs, right? Because you're throwing out a couple of really good arms. So if you can just put a couple on the board, you should be okay.
What's your X factor in the starting lineup? I mean, I know we just talked about Schwarber and we just talked about Bryce Harper. What other guy in their starting 9 are you looking at and saying, if they're going to start Jose Quintana, you need one of these right-handed bats to really be effective and get going and carry the load if they're going to nullify them. Between Hoskins, Real Muto, Segura, Castellanos, I know Matt Vierling is going to start on Friday. Who else are you looking at in this lineup that's going to be the one that carries the load if they're able to take Schwarber and Harper away from offensive production?
Well, I think the first guy you have to look at is Rhys because he's in between the two of them. So if Kyle comes up and strikes out and Rhys hits a double and Bryce strikes out, maybe they get a run home with a base hit by JT and, all is not lost kind of thing. Segura needs to start to swing it better. And honestly, that bottom half of the lineup, when the Phils were really cooking with gas, that bottom half of the lineup was really good. So guys like Matt Vierling, I know Stott, lefty, but he's going to have his opportunity. Those guys will need to step up and make it happen. But again, I don't know that we have to worry too much about the offense early in this series. I really think if you push a couple across, then you're just sitting back and you're hoping that your ace does his thing.
Now, let's go to the back end of the bullpen here. And, down the stretch, Jose Alvarado has been one of the best arms in all of baseball since he's come back from AAA. And they were like, hey, throw the cutter. And he's like, okay, not a problem. I think we know what we have with him down at the back end of the lineup, or down like in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. But if you're looking at it from the standpoint, now Rob Thompson did this the other night for the clincher. He brought Zach Eflin out. I know Sir Anthony and David Robertson, they've been scuffling a little bit down the stretch. I'm not sure, if it's lingering effects for Sir Anthony as far as like injuries are concerned. Dave Robertson, once Sir Anthony went down, he had to really take on more of a load. I mean, there was a couple times where they were trying to get him through a 6-out save. The good thing about how they took care of things over the final weekend into Houston is they really didn't use those guys. I'm hoping that they can be recharged for this series, but if you need a hammer in the 9th inning, is it Zach Eflin? Is Zach Eflin now this team's closer for this postseason run, or even just for this series, and until we kind of figure things out if Sir Anthony and Robertson get themselves together?
Yeah, I think he's very much in the mix. I mean, Rob will tell you that he's going to wait until he sees the situation. Does Eflin match up well against the hitters that are coming up in the 9th inning kind of thing? You might see Alvarado in that role. I mean, honestly, Brad Hand will be in the mix. Robertson will be in the mix. Dominguez will be in the mix. JT was asked today about both Sir Anthony and David Robertson. And his thought was, look, neither guy is struggling with velocity. Neither guy is struggling with anything other than command. He said they're just falling behind. They're trying to be too perfect. They're walking guys early, and that kills you in the late innings. He said, it sounds like an easy fix. It's obviously not an easy fix because both of the guys have been trying to fix it for a couple of weeks now and haven't been able to. But he said, when they lock back in, it's not a matter of stuff. It's a matter of, hitting the corners rather than leaving one over the middle of the plate, which both guys are doing a lot right now. So until we see evidence of that in a game, yeah, I think Alvarado and Eflin are going to be leaned on pretty heavily by Rob Thompson. Rightly so.
You brought up JT Realmuto. And, going into the All-Star break right before that Toronto series, he wasn't having a good year. It was a subpar year by his standards, by his contract. A lot of people weren't happy with him. The simple fact that he wasn't able to make that 2-game trip to Toronto. He was able to take some time off, and then he came back. He has torn the cover off the ball since his return from that little bit of an absence. Murph, to me, he's going to finish top 10 in MVP. I think he's going to win the Silver Slugger for a catcher. I think he should be the Gold Glove winner for a catcher. We're looking at one of the all-time great catching seasons, and really, it's been over the course of the last few months. He has been an absolute stud, and to see what he's doing past the age 30, I know a lot of people have been putting out numbers like you haven't seen these type of things from a catcher after age 30 season. Man, he has been an absolute horse for this team. What a complete rock. He commands the pitching staff. I mean, like you said, you talked to him today. Why don't you speak a little bit on it, because you see it every day with him.
Yeah, and, he talked about the stolen bases. He talked about the home runs. He talked about, a lot of those things today. Scott Frensky asked him the other night, what he thought the difference was in the first half and the second half of the season. And JT joked. He said, well, I guess I'm not old anymore, because he heard the whispers and he heard what people were saying. And he said, it has nothing to do with that, which people close to JT knew and people around the team know. But it was more about him trying something new coming out of spring training with a big leg kick and, trying to generate a little bit more power with this leg kick. And it just didn't work for him. And he spent 6 weeks, 8 weeks trying to perfect it. And then finally, he went to Kevin Long and he said, I got to go back to what I was doing. And Kevin said, let's go. And they went into the cage and they started the very small leg kick that JT uses and has used for his entire career. And within a couple of weeks, his timing was back and he was really starting to punish the ball. And we watched that happen. And it just goes to show you, you can watch a guy for half a season in Major League Baseball and think he stinks. And then he turns around and has a terrific second half of the season, and he's getting top 10 MVP vote. So it's another illustration of just how long the Major League Baseball season is and why you just have to be patient because guys are going to struggle. It's just the way it works. And
Murph,
and
real quick, I know you were bringing up the leg kick thing and how for majority of his career that short leg kick worked for him. Why was he trying to change it to a longer leg kick to begin with? I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it has always been my moniker by living life. But why was he trying to change it to a longer leg kick if it was something that he had never done?
Well, I think guys at his level with his talent, his athleticism, someone says to him, hey, if you maybe another player on another team, maybe one of his teammates, hey, if you add in a bigger leg kick, you're going to hit for more power. And JT says, well, I can do that. That's not a problem. I'll add to what I'm already doing, hitting in the high 2s and hitting in the mid 20s in terms of power. And maybe I'll get 10 more home runs and maybe I'll hit for, 10 points higher in the average. And in his mind, that's exactly what was going to happen. And it didn't. And so at some point you say to yourself, all right, maybe I can't do this. This particular style does not work for me. And I'm going to go back to what does work for me. I don't know that. I've never asked JT that question, but that's what makes sense to me. These guys believe they can do it. They can do it all. And in many ways they can. However, it doesn't work for everybody all the time. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure that out. And then you finally figure it out and you switch it back up.
Sounds great. Hey, listen, it's football season. The Eagles are 4-0, and there is nobody that does it better than the Green Legion because the Green Legion does it right. Oh, man, I can't wait to be there at Busch Stadium. But, hey, the Green Legion is now in its 20th year of operation. You need to make sure that you're hanging out with us because as the season goes on and the Birds get stronger and they continue to win, you're going to want to be a part of it. Whether you go to the website, greenlegion.com, and you sign up for one of the home tailgates, so you're down there with us, $65, all you can eat, all you can drink for 4 hours leading up to game time. If it's a 1 o'clock game, you're there from 8 to noon, eating and drinking as much as you want at 1100 Social, right there in the corner of 11th and Patterson. And we still have room, plenty of room, for our road trips. Arizona is this weekend, so hey, you're missing out. You're not going to tailgate with 1,200 people at the Salt, but Indianapolis, Houston, the bus trip up to New York, it's going to be a great season. The Birds are going to go to the playoffs, and they're primed to make a deep run potentially to the Super Bowl. You want to do it with the Green Legion because nobody else does it better. Call the office at 215-666-5940. That's 215-666-5940, or go to greenlegion.com today. In the next segment, I'm going to ask Murph what truly makes Rob Thompson special and the new, not interim, the new manager of the Philadelphia Phillies moving forward. And let's talk a little bit about some of the other postseason series right here in the wild card round. 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler, Bud Light Baseball Brunch. We'll be right back after these messages.
All good.
Sweet Caroline.
Cool.
So what is the other we're
gonna do JT.
I'm just making
on Rob.
JT.
Right?
Yes.
Cool.
And once I'm done that, I'll say welcome. I'll pause for a second. I'll say welcome back. Final segment here on Bud Light Baseball Brunch. And while we're at it, JT Realmuto's talking about him. Why don't we talk about Rob Thompson? Because I
love it.
Love the guy.
Go.
How much time do we have left in the show?
10 minutes. And then I'll get you out of here, go back to your room, and go to bed.
I'm going to go to bed.
All right, here we go. And that was Phillies catcher JT Realmuto speaking about Phillies manager Rob Thompson. And welcome back for our final segment here on this Friday evening from 8 to 9 on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. This is Bud Light Baseball Brunch. Keep it here on the station as the Divide Live is coming up next. And then we have Timmy O'Keefe with Bats, what was it? Bats, baseballs, and all that stuff. He's going to give you his picks for the weekend, but Timmy O'Keefe does a great job too. What's
balls, bats, and bets?
Balls, bats, and bets.
Yeah.
There you go. Ball, BBB. I know it's kind of like us. He has an extra
balls,
B in
something, there. And whatever.
Thank you, Slash. Appreciate you, man. All right, so listen, JT Realmuto is talking about him. I want to talk about him because I think, I know the reason why this team has had the turnaround that it has had is because of the man that's pushing all the buttons. And I'll tell you what, Murph, I know we talked about, a little bit the celebration the other night, and seeing him standing in the middle of the clubhouse surrounded by his guys, his troops, his dudes, and giving that speech. And listen, he didn't just put out there that we're happy to be here, we're happy to be in the playoffs, but you could tell as a baseball lifer how special it was for him to make it into the playoffs. And he didn't leave any stone unturned. He said, I'm going to let you guys sleep in tomorrow, but let's not get it lost in translation here. We have 13 more wins to go before we're world champions. And I think that mindset right there, and the players and the respect and the love that they have for this guy, I haven't seen a Phillies manager garner this much appreciation from his players since Charlie Manuel. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, and he was the last guy to take a team to the postseason, so it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, look, to a man, they love.
And that's not a shot at Pete McCannon either. I thought the players liked Pete McCannon. Yeah,
not a shot at Joe Girardi, to be quite frank. Different managerial styles for different teams work. Joe, it wasn't working here in Philadelphia, and they decided to make a change. And the change that they made, and Rob wasn't the only name on the list, but the change they made, it worked. And, you heard JT a minute ago talking about the respect that they have for him and just what he was able to do coming in on June the 2nd, and really just kind of calm down the clubhouse a little bit, look every guy in the eye and just tell them, what he expected and how he thought they would get there, and give them a really clear plan. And that's for professional athletes, that's a big deal. They want to know where they're headed and how they're going to get there. And that's what he was able to do. It's fun to watch. Because he's a terrific guy. I'll give you a quick anecdote real quickly. We were flying here to St. Louis after the final game in Houston. And, it's about a 2-hour flight, I guess. And coaches sit up front, players sit in the middle, staff sits in the back. And Rob started making his way down, the aisle of our plane, which is pretty large, to be honest. And when he got to the break where the staff sits, the training staff, our video coaches, the broadcasters, and the rest of the support staff, one by one, he went to their seat, reached out his hand, specifically said, "Hey, I want to thank you for," and what that individual may have offered over the course of the year. And he did it to each one of us. And I've been around a lot of great guys, a lot of great leaders, a lot of great coaches, and everybody's different, and not everyone has to do that. But that was so Rob Thompson. And when I tell you that that the staff, the guys that are supporting him, and I'm talking about his coaches, I'm talking about the folks like me, when the manager comes back to the back of the plane, looks you in the eye and says, "Hey, Murph, what you guys do, bringing our message back to Philadelphia and showing the personalities, hey, thank you for that." It's a moment. And that's Rob Thompson. And that's what he did with the players as well. And, he's a guy that everybody just wants to go to bat for.
And I know a lot of people were saying back in July and August that they should remove the interim tag and they should name him the manager. And I've been hard pressed all along, Murph. I don't know if we talked about it on the show during that time frame. But I wanted to see how it finished. Sometimes there's flashes in the pan and things don't pan out. But I will tell you this right now. He needs to be the guy moving forward. He has earned that right. And you see by how his players love him and they appreciate him and the good things that they have to say. And any guy that can be spoken about in that type of way can be the manager of my baseball team, the head coach of my football team, like how people talk about Nick Sirianni. I think those are special qualities and guys that can lead men, in whatever they're doing. And, and hearing what you're saying about them, that's truly special. What else is really cool is this whole new format for Major League Baseball with the postseason. I don't know what your feelings are about it. The fact that it's a 3-game series instead of a 1-game playoff for one team to get in between two, how all the games are on the road. I think it puts a more, dire need, like either to win your division or to be the top wild card to where you're hosting these games. Your thoughts, your opinions. This should be a really fun weekend across Major League Baseball with the hustle and bustle of potentially 4 games each day for 3 days in a row. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a better system than what we've seen over the past couple of years with that 1-game playoff. I mean, obviously the Phillies took advantage of that extra wild card spot this year. I'm not apologizing for it. It's the way it worked, and they've got a real chance of moving on in this postseason. So, but I agree. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of parity in the National League. The Braves are obviously playing the best baseball, and the Dodgers are obviously the most talented team. And they won't play this weekend. But I don't think either of them are immune to getting upset by that next round. The Phillies would play the Braves if they were to win. The Phillies have proven that they can beat the Braves. I forget, was it 10-9 was the season series or 11?
I think it wound up being like, God, was it 8-11, 9-11? Because they play them 19 times. They were down the stretch. That sweep in Atlanta in the middle of the month really didn't help their cause. And then, because they were 6-6, I was 6-9. So 8-11 is what they finished with them. But, up until September, they proved that they could compete with that team. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Murph, I think it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. It's going to be great. Mainly because our team is in it. The Phillies are representing us. They're representing the city. They're representing the great fan base of the Philadelphia Phillies and the Philadelphia sports fan. It's going to be a lot of fun and exciting. I think this team, they can make a run. And I've said all along about this Braves team, Murph, because if you look back over the last 20 years of Major League Baseball, there's only one team to win the title and get back to defend it the following year. They didn't win, but the 2008-2009 Phillies are the only team of the last 20 years, dating back to those Yankees teams that went 4 in a row and then lost in 2001. I take pride in that. I love the fact that the Phillies are the only team that have proven that they could get back to that level and compete at that level. The Braves have been the team for me that have worried me all along that they could do that because this team is built for it. But I'll tell you what, Murph, it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. Real quick, just name me one series outside the Phillies series that excites you. You think about it, you look at it. What's one series that you look at and go, man, like that's going to be a fun series to watch?
Well, I think they'll all be fun, but I'm a National League guy, so I immediately will think Mets San Diego. I don't think San Diego matches up as well against the New York Mets. So that said, they'll probably go out there and sweep them in 2. The Mets aren't playing their best baseball, but obviously a terrific team. I know the sky's falling in New York, which is ridiculous, but that's fans, and that's the way
it's fun for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure as they were watching the Phils, struggle late in September, they were kind of thinking the same thing. But, one doesn't have anything to do with the other. I think the Padres can go in there and move on in that series. And I hope that's what happens, honestly. But it'll be fun to watch. And that would be the one series that I'm also tuning into.
Prediction, Phillies. Yeah, I know you're going to take them. I'm going to take them. 2, 3. What do you got?
Honestly, if the Phillies win, I think they win it in 2. If they lose, I think they lose in 3. I think they absolutely win one of the first 2 games, and then it becomes, can you win the second of the 2? If they don't, game 3, I would probably give the advantage to St. Louis, so you almost don't want to get there.
Even though we don't know who's starting, and for them,
I mean they have more depth. in that starting role. I mean, Ranger can certainly be really good, and the Phillies could win Game 3. But if I'm predicting, I say Phillies win in 2. But if they don't, the Cardinals are going to need 3 games to win the series. I don't think the Cardinals can win the first 2 games. I think they can win one of the first 2 games, but I don't think they'll win both.
Well, partner, it was great having you back. I'm so happy. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday night out there in St. Louis at Busch Stadium, and it's gonna be great to see you, my friend. And welcome back to the broadcast for us, and welcome back to the Phillies radio broadcast. It should be exciting times this weekend, and nobody deserves it again more than you do.
Well, thanks, Zach, and looking forward to seeing you guys out here as well. It'll be a lot of fun. Bring the good mojo with you. Hopefully, you're only watching one game, and we're headed home with a victory on Saturday. So, but we'll see. Regardless, good to be back in the postseason for sure.
No doubt about it, and I'm looking forward to that 5 a.m. flight out of St. Louis on Sunday morning. But hey, I'll be back on my couch watching NFL football the rest of the day. But hey, I'd like to thank again my co-host, my partner, Greg Murphy, for Kyle / the Gobbler Nunamaker, for sticking out his sickness and being with us and helping record the show. And Super Sam Ross, who's on a plane out to Arizona, go get us a W out there as well. I'm Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio. And like a 3-1 pitch to Ryan Howard, we are out of here, baby. Let's take down those Redbirds. Let's do it, Phils. I want more postseason baseball, and I want nothing more than to get the Braves after this. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend with Major League Baseball playoffs.
Perfect.
Kyle, what's ailing you?
I just think I have like a cold coming on.
Oh, I got you.
Congested. Thanks, thanks everybody for.
Yes, thank you guys.
I'm headed back to the hotel now, Kyle. So